It's an emotion, and that emotion builds relationships. It breaks down barriers. It makes you seem more approachable and relatable. And that can be such a key thing when you're trying to build loyal customer relationships and build a loyal customer brand.
Welcome to the Master Your Business podcast, where we bring you the best in branding, marketing, and customer experience strategies. I'm Deirdre Martin, your host. And if you've been asking yourself how to level up your growing business, your marketing, your customer experience, or how to make more of an impact with your brand, this show is for you. You'll discover actionable tips and insights to help businesses just like yours gain clarity and illuminate the path to success. Train with industry experts, learn sales and marketing strategies, business and mindset hacks, and be inspired by authentic entrepreneurship stories. As your host, I share the no-nonsense advice that accelerated my journey from boring bank manager to industry thought leader in marketing and customer experience. Learn how I made the leap into the world of six-figure success, digital courses, keynote speaking, and co-authoring a #1 bestseller in just 1 year. Together with interviews from industry experts, this show ensures you're seen, heard, and hired by your ideal clients. Join our growing community of subscribers and let the Master Your Business podcast empower you to tackle your most significant challenges on your path to business success. Don't miss out. It's your turn to learn from the best and master your dream business.
We're about to have a seriously fun conversation. I'm sharing some science behind how humour can improve your marketing and how it can bring the cha-chings along with a few little chuckles. I'm a huge fan of the Big Bang Theory. I love the intelligence and the quick-witted comments, and in conversation, I'm very dry-witted. I think my dad was hilariously funny. Loads of puns, just think ultimate dad joke. This guy could have written a book on dad jokes, right? I have that humour, my sister has that humour, not everybody gets it, and that's okay, I'm not for everyone, but if you like dad jokes, I'm the mum who is like the queen of dad jokes. And just think loads of play on words and that sort of stuff, lots of puns and things with double entendres and that sort of stuff, right? And so in my everyday marketing, I do try to inject a little bit of that humour into my content. And it's probably most evident on my email list. So if you're on my email list, you're going to be seeing a lot more emojis than I might share on my social. You probably see a distinct difference. And I share a ton more memes and like GIFs or GIFs or whatever they're called throughout my regular email content as well. And for me, that's a way of adding just a little light touch, like the tiniest touch or hint of humour and lightheartedness into business, because business can be such a freaking serious topic, right? But I suppose what humor can do is it can help embed, enhance, improve the relationships that you have with people who are your ideal clients. And if you're naturally funny, lucky you. But if you're not, for me, I'm probably not naturally funny if I'm sitting here by myself doing things. But if I'm having a regular conversation with somebody, I am inclined to poke a little bit of fun if I feel that it's appropriate. And we'll talk about appropriateness of humour for your brand throughout this podcast. So stay tuned. It's not all about just having laughs, right? But usually if I am poking fun at anything or anyone, it's myself, right? I'll poke fun at myself. And it's not a way of putting myself down or anything like that. I might poke fun at some TV shows or whatever it might be, but ultimately it is poking fun at myself. And the thing is, like, when we wake up every day in our own stories, we are the heroes of our own stories, whether we want to think we are or not. That is actually the case. And every day we're in our own little sitcom, right? I love Friends as well. Watched Friends. I love Sex and the City too, and those shows that have really a lot of quick-wittedness, those are the ones that really appeal to me. But when you're doing your marketing every day on social media, sometimes you might wish that you could inject a little bit of humour or be as entertaining as your favorite sitcom. And I'm here to tell you, yes, you can do that if that's appropriate for you. And this is how really nailing down and identifying your brand tone of voice can help you embed this a little bit more. So you do it intentionally. And basically, it could be just about how you inject a little bit of wit into your messaging, because when you do that, that can make you stand out. It can help you build those genuine connections, and it can even boost your bottom line, right? So get ready to laugh your way to success and be laughing at all the people who think that this isn't something that can work in their business, because it absolutely can. So the first thing I want to really draw your attention to is the fact that humor makes you memorable, right? Humor makes you memorable. So let's face it, we're all bombarded with marketing messages every day and communication every day. The minute you leave your house and you go to your closest shop, unless it's like right next door, and even at that, there's communication on the shop window. There's communication the minute you set foot outside your door in terms of signposts. And it could be in Ireland, we are inundated with political posters they're just littered throughout our landscape. People are just communicating at us all of the time. But what do we actually remember throughout all of that stuff that we're seeing all the time? We remember the funny stuff. We remember those hilarious ads on TV, or we remember the witty social media posts that went viral, because humor is like a mental sticky note. It keeps your brand top of mind. And I know if I see something funny, or if I have a laugh at something, you know yourself, you'd be telling your friends or your family about something funny that happened. Sometimes it's situational, if they just don't get it, if they don't see it or they weren't there, but you might still try to tell that story anyway, because humor evokes an emotion in you. And recently I was doing some brand strategy work with a client, and this is two guys who were partnership business. And they have the coolest events company ever. They're based in the UK. These guys, they work with celebrities and famous people and sports people and big companies. And they put on big, freaking massive events. And honestly, working with this company has just been a laugh in itself. And the main reason being is because these guys regularly use humor in their tone of voice. And one of the biggest realizations we had as we were working through their brand strategy was that their marketing was so freaking dry compared to how they are all of the time. And like most of these guys, like they do regular conferences. If you've ever worked in a corporate or you've gone to an event and it's a big conference, like most conferences are the same. But if you just imagine that when people are organizing these events and they're looking for an events company to put it on, most of them are going to be corporate and serious. With these guys, what we've done is we've injected humor into all of that. So there's humor even in their proposals for serious events. So it doesn't have to, and that's going to make them stand out. And the idea being that even though they're dealing with corporates, even though they're dealing with big, huge companies who are really freaking serious, that humor is a way to stand out amongst others who are just really dry all of the time. And so these guys had just lost that sense of themselves, and it was one of their biggest realizations throughout the brand strategy workshop. So I'm so excited to see what comes for them. But another thing that humor does is humor builds relationships, right? When you make someone laugh, you're not just promoting your product or service, you're actually forging a bond with the person. It's like that intimate moment where the two of you have this little chuckle or giggle at something that was said, and you're like, hey, do you remember that time when whatever happened? It's an emotion, and that emotion builds relationships. It breaks down barriers. It makes you seem more approachable and relatable. And that can be such a key thing when you're trying to build loyal customer relationships and build a loyal customer brand, because people are going to feel more connected to your brand. One of my other clients, we were doing her brand story as well, and she's a business mentor too, just like me. She works with businesses typically locally, and she does masterminds and stuff as well. Actually, she has clients internationally too. But the moral of the story with her was she wanted to introduce something new in her business, and that was to work with corporates. Because her background, like mine, was corporate. She worked for a Fortune 500 company. She was VP. She was really high up in a Fortune 500 company. And she left many years ago because she was having kids and they wanted her to move, and then it didn't work out. from a family perspective. She put her family first. But she really missed corporates. She loved working with corporates. And so she came to me because she wanted a bit of help with her messaging. She wanted to be able to go and service corporates and whatnot. And part of what she had been doing actually was, she had been doing some keynote speaking events for corporates, but she just wasn't getting in to do the work she really wanted to do. So anyway, as we were working through her brand messaging, she told me a story about an International Women's Day event or a National Women's Enterprise Day event, I don't remember which, that she was speaking at. And when she went into the room to start her talk, what she didn't realise was that it was going to be a blend of people there, as in it wasn't all going to be just women. So anyway, she started her story with, all right, for those of you who are not women, just be mindful, we're not going to be talking about periods, bras and panties throughout this conversation, right? And instantly that little bit of humour, it made everybody feel relaxed, because I think people who weren't in the room, who weren't women, were going, oh heck, what are we getting into? Because the talk, whatever it was titled, was specifically geared towards women. So she instantly broke down those barriers, made the thing a bit more relatable, made everybody feel comfortable, and humour really played a part in that. Okay, so this lady is quite funny as well, quite witty, and like that in regular conversation comes out with loads of little witticisms. So it's important for her to incorporate that in her message, because again, that makes her stand out. It makes her so much more approachable, and that is really just that intelligent quick-wittedness. So yes, that's fun, and do include it. If that's how you are naturally, include it and try and inject it into your brand. And I know it might seem hard at first, but the more you do, the more comfortable you'll get with doing it. And it's fun, right? Business can be fun, marketing can be fun, and this is a way to help make that happen. Okay, so next is that humour humanises your brand. Just like what I've said there, it's really easy to get caught up in the corporate talk and that professional and polished voice and all that sort of stuff. But never forget that behind every business, there are real, actual live people. They like The Big Bang Theory. They like Sex and the City. They like those shows that you like too, right? And humour, when you inject humour into your content and your copy and your emails and your proposals and all that sort of stuff, people start to recognize and realize that you're not just a faceless entity. You're literally a passionate individual who has a great freaking sense of humor and who would probably be fantastic to work with if that's how you go on. So if you're a freelancer or you run your own business and that is your natural style, bring your personality through and inject that humor. That's the main thing I want to take away. But I also wanted to be mindful that humour is not always appropriate. There's no one size fits all in terms of humour and when you should or you shouldn't include it, but it does really need to align with your brand and your personality and who your target audience are. And an example I give of this in terms of brand identity and brand style and things matching up is if you're a funeral home director or an undertaker or whatever, your brand personality and style and identity is probably going to be very formal, very professional, and cracking jokes might not be the best idea. It's got to go with what you're doing and how you want to be perceived in the world. But even a hint of lightheartedness can go a long way. So just be mindful of that. So if you're planning to not necessarily become a comedian, but maybe take on board some of what I'm saying here in terms of the humour, I want you to think of humour as your secret weapon, not your entire arsenal, okay? So by understanding your audience's sense of humour and seeing like, what do they find funny? Then you can sprinkle some wit into your website copy, your social media posts, or even your email marketing. So don't be afraid to experiment, just see what resonates and works. Like at the end of the day, that's what marketing is. It's one giant experiment. And social media, the internet is your lab for testing. That's what it is. The internet is your lab for testing. So remember, there was one time actually I remember where I tried to inject a bit of humor and it went horribly wrong. Basically, what happened was I used this email that where I send my emails from is where I have my e-learning course, my digital courses set up, and it's a software platform called Kajabi. And in error, about 2 years ago, I sent out an email message, which was just to go to my clients. It was reminding them about the calls that we had scheduled for the week coming up, or the month coming up, whatever it was. And I accidentally sent it to my entire mailing list. There was no sensitive information. There was nothing like that on it. But I was sending an apology email going, if you just got this email, please ignore it. And by the way, see you down after fucking this up. I didn't use that language, but basically in my head I was going, and see you down after fucking this up, I'm going to send you this little message as well. And so I was kind of like taking advantage of the fact that I had made a big boo-boo. I wasn't really that big, but I was like, I'm apologizing because I've made a boo-boo. If you got this thing, ignore it. And by the way, here's something else, right? But it totally backfired. It was a little bit of a cringe-worthy moment. And it taught me a valuable lesson. Somebody sent me back a message saying, I don't like your marketing tactics, Deirdre. And I was like, oh, fuck, right, fair enough. Obviously not my ideal client, and that's okay. But it was a genuine error, and I did try to be funny about it, but it didn't land. So it did not land. And that's okay, but I learned from it. So I suppose what I learned from it is that humor, first and foremost, should always be authentic, and it should be well timed. Those are the two things. It needs to be authentic and well timed. So don't force it. Let it flow naturally. And I mentioned tone of voice a couple of times today in this episode. So if you are not sure about what your tone of voice is, and you're thinking, is humor right for me or not? To help you infuse humor into your marketing or add a touch of wit or whatever, I've created a really handy messaging guide. It's a messaging breakthrough toolkit for service providers, and it's packed with tips, tricks, and examples to get your creative juices flowing to do with your marketing, your tone of voice, and all of that sort of stuff. So you can head over to www.deirdremartin.ie/messaging workbook and download it for free. And that's it. That's a wrap. If you found this episode valuable, folks, I'd be thrilled if you'd share it with your fellow entrepreneurs. You know, the ones who could use a bit of a laugh every now and again, or whose marketing, you're like reading their marketing, you're like, oh, it's so dry. If that's you, let them know, share this episode with them. Sharing helps our podcast reach more people. It spreads the joy of humor, business, and all sorts of other things as well. And hey, before you go all together, don't forget to rate, review, and follow the Master Your Business podcast wherever you love streaming your podcasts from. I'll be back next week with more actionable advice to help you master your business. And until then, keep laughing, keep growing, and keep mastering your business. Bye.